welcome to episode 9 of Fox Gaming's The Darkness of Moria solo Battle Companies campaign. In this battle report, Cirith Ungol will be facing the Last Alliance and Karna will be facing Osgiliath. The scenario for today is called Recovery, and the goal is to find the relic among 5 objective markers scattered across the battlefield. The battle company who can locate the relic and retrieve it for their own and moving it off a table edge will be the victor in this battle, and the battle will last until that happens or all models are slain. If you remember from last time, 3 of the warriors got promoted to a hero, and they have been named after users on YouTube that has commented on my videos. The first hero is Virlin, and he is named after Tom Virlinger on YouTube. Karna's warband have got 2 new heroes. Firstly, we have Slurm, and he is named after Galactic Emperor Slurm on YouTube. We also have Chiuhin, and he is named after Alex Chiu on YouTube. Thank you to you guys for contributing to my channel and commenting on my videos. Before we get into deployment, I will just remind you that I have a page on buymeacoffee.com. If you choose to support me through that page, the money that I get will be directly invested into the hobby to create more awesome content for you guys. Okay, let's get into deployment for the first battle against Cirith Ungol against the Last Alliance. I would like to mention that the Last Alliance has fewer points than Cirith Ungol in this match, so they will get 1 elf with a bow and 1 elf with hand and a half sword to bolster their ranks in this fight. Another point of note is that if the relic is recovered, it is treated like a heavy object. And for deployment, no models are deployed on the board, rather they are moving onto the board in their first turn. So let's get into priority for the first turn. Cirith Ungol gets a 6 and the Last Alliance gets a 1. So Cirith Ungol will start to move onto the board. Alright, movement for the first turn is done. And over here we have a giant spider looking to moving towards this objective over here. This is actually too close to the edge. We have to move that a little bit inside not to have an unfair advantage. Murphys in the middle with the rest of the warriors with close combat weapons and all of the heroes. And the archer on top of this hill over here and the other giant spider on top of that hill going for this objective. In return, the Last Alliance had 3 warriors moving onto the board on this side, trying to counter the giant spider's advance. And in the middle we have the bulk of the forces with Carsonil and Louisan and another retinue of warriors as well. On top of this hill we have the archers of the Last Alliance with Simonir and 2 of his friends. Now, in the first round there will be no shooting as every model moved full. So we'll go over to priority for the next turn. And priority goes to Cirith Ungol. So the second turn movement phase went as you might expect. This giant spider moved closer to this objective and Murphys moved up onto the steps trying to get into range of this objective next turn. The rest of the forces moved forward and the archer from the orcs moved forward as well to defend these 2 objectives from the enemy. The last spider moved down from the hill, making ready to engage with this objective. And on the other side, the Last Alliance moved forward full as fast as they can to try to outpace the spider. And the bulk of the forces moved up the middle and the archers moved half to be able to shoot and maybe cause a wound on this spider over here. So let's get into the shoot phase. As there are no shooting for the orcs, the Last Alliance takes it and we move into shooting, starting with Simonir. Simonir will fire at the giant spider and he will need 4 up to hit because he moved and he misses. The next elven archer will also need force and he scores a hit. With a strength of 3 against defense 3, he needs force to wound the spider and he gets a 5, causing 1 wound to the giant spider. Lastly, we have the man of the North with bow who will fire at the same spider, try to take him out. He will need 5s to hit because he moved and he misses. Priority for the next turn goes to Cirith Ungol once again. Alright, so in the movement phase of Cirith Ungol, we have 3 objective markers that have been reached by the spider. So we'll have to roll to see if it is indeed the relic. On a 6, this one is the relic, and it is not. Next, we have this objective marker over here. On a 6, it is the relic, and it's not. Lastly, we have this objective marker that Murphys is on a roll of a 6, it is the relic, and it's not. That means that the relic is either this objective marker over here or inside the dwarven house over here. We will just have to see which one it is, and now from now on we will roll a die on a 4 up. Alright, so that is the rest of the movement done. These guys moved closer, and so did this force over here, and the archers stood still to be able to fire their bows. The orc is out of range, unfortunately, and cannot fire. So we go to shooting phase for the last lions. Simonid is trying to take out the giant spider over there that is wounded, and he will need a 3 up to hit because he stood still and he hits. Now he will need force to wound, and he gets a 3, but he has a free point of might that he can use, turning that into a 4, slaying the giant spider. The next elven archer will fire at Murphys, this time needing a 3 up to hit, and he misses. The Numenorian man is next, same target, needing a 4 up to hit, and he hits. Now his bow has only a strength of 2, so he would need 5s to wound Murphys, and he gets the 5! Fate roll for Murphys, and he saves. Alright, so we have priority for the next turn, and it goes to Cirith Ungol once again. Alright, so movement is done for Cirith Ungol. Murphys hid behind the building to avoid the enemy fire from the hill, and the other spider went onto this objective. So we have to figure out, is this the relic? On a roll of a 4 up, it is. And it's not the relic, so the relic is the last objective inside of the dwarven house. Alright, so that is movement done, and the archers on the hill had to move down as they had no eligible targets. The orc archers stood still to be able to fire, and these guys moved in closer to link up with their friends, who will try to make a shield wall preventing Cirith Ungol from getting behind. Because 2 of their warriors, or Luisan and a friend, went into the house claiming the relic. Now they just have to get out of there and get off the table edge, and Cirith Ungol will have to try to stop them. Now let's get into the shooting phase for Cirith Ungol. 1 shot from the orc is going into this man on the right hand side. Now the orc will need 5 up to hit, and he misses. Priority for the next turn, and now it's getting exciting. Who gets it? It is the last alliance. Now, this movement is really important, and Karishla has chosen to spend a point of might, calling a heroic move to try to negate the last lions from getting away. Now, this is then countered by Luisan over here, so we'll just have to roll off. On a 4 to 6, it goes to good. Let's see what it becomes, and it is a 2, so it goes to Cirith Ungol. Alright, so because of the heroic move from Karishla, they made their charges inside the house with 3 of their warriors to stop the enemy from moving away. In addition to this, they got some favorable fights over here, making sure to stay within 6 inches of their leader. And the last lions countered their charge to be able to get some different fights so they could help out their comrades in the middle. This is very important after all. Murphys went around the building, being safe from enemy shooting because they moved in the movement phase, but the orc in the back stood still to be able to fire their bow. Let's get into the shoot phase for Cirith Ungol. Targeting the spear support in the back over here, needing a 5 up to hit, and he hits. Now he would need 6s to kill, and he gets a 1. Alright, so the last lions has priority, and they can choose which fights to do first. And as an obvious thing I see is inside here, they are actually trapped. So they will try to do some clever fighting to negate this from happening. But they will just start on the edge over here. We have 2 against, or 1 Uruk-hai against 3 warriors, or 2 warriors of Numenor and 1 elf. So let's do that one first. The Uruk-hai will strike normally, and he sets the bar at a 2. The men of Numenor gets a 6, which means they win the fight. The Numenorian men will strike first. They will need force to kill the Uruk-hai, and they get a 5 and a 6, so the Uruk-hai is slain. Next we have a one-on-one on this edge over here, and the Numenorian man will set the bar. He gets a 6, and the Uruk-hai cannot beat that because he swings with his two-handed weapon. 4 up to kill the Uruk-hai and gets a 1. Next we have Jonner against the Man of Numenor in the middle over there, and the Man of Numenor sets the bar, getting a 1, and the Uruk-hai Jonner gets a 2, winning the fight. Jonner will need 5s to kill, and he gets a 4. He will use a might point, turning that into a 5, killing the Man of Numenor. Next we have Krishla and a friend against Karzunil and a spearman, so let's do that fight now. Karzunil will start, and he gets a 4, and his spearman friend gets a 5. Next we have Krishla, and he gets a 6, and that means that they win the fight. And Karzunil has only 1 point of might, so he cannot do anything about that. Remember, this 5 was his friend. Krishla will strike first at Karzunil, and he will need a 5 to wound, and he gets a 1. His spearman friend will also need 5s, and he gets a 3. Next we have this giant spider against the elf with spear and shield, and the giant spider sets the bar with his 2 attacks, getting a 3, and the elf gets a 5. Needing 4s to wound the spider and getting a 6, causing 1 wound. Moving inside the house, we have Louison against the orc with shield, and the orc with shield will start the fights, and he gets a 4. Louison gets a 3, which is turned down to a 2, so he loses the fight. The orc will need 5s to wound Louison, and he gets a 4. By the way, Louison can reroll a single die roll, so he will do that, and he gets a 4, which is turned down to a 3, and that's not good enough. Next we have this Man of Numenor against Joshuk and a friend, and the Man of Numenor will be shielding. He gets a 5, and Joshuk is next. He gets a 2, and his friend gets a 3. That was all of the fights, so we move over to the next priority, and it goes to Cirith Ungol this time. Alright, so the orcs got possession of the relic, trying to move it out of this doorway. Remember, the orc will move half distance when carrying the heavy object, and he could do that because of his friends engaging in combat, and he was in base contact with the object. On the other side over here we have a lot of fights. The spider Murphys and his friend moved in to stop the last lines from moving, and the archer went down from the hill trying to help out his friends. Now, the archers of the last alliance realized that the orc might get away, moving closer to the house, try to outflank him on this side over here in later turns. Now let's get into the fight phase. Starting with this giant spider over here against these 2 Numenorians, the giant spider sets the bar, getting a 6, and that is really strong. The Numenorians respond with a 4, but that's not good enough. The giant spider has a strength of 5, and the Numenorians has a defense of 5, so the spider will need 4s to slay the Numenorians. Can he do it? He gets 1 6, and that means that 1 warrior is slain. Next we have Murphys, who has charged into these 2 elves. Now Murphys has the bestial charge rule, which means he gets 1 extra attack. So he has 3 attacks this time, and he gets double 6s. That is really strong. And the elves, how do they fare? They get a 5. And both of the elves are knocked prone because of this, and Murphys can double his attacks. Now he has 6 attacks, but he has to roll 2 of them at a time because 1 attack is doubled, not 3 attacks. So, starting with the elf with spear and shield, Murphys will need 5s to kill him, and he gets the 5. The elf is slain. The next 4 attacks will go on the other elf, and he will need 4s this time to kill him, and he gets 1 4, so this elf is also gone. Next we have a Man of Numenor against an Uruk-hai with a 2-handed weapon, and the Uruk-hai will strike first, getting a 3, which is turned to a 2, and the man gets a 3 as well, but he wins. Needing 4s to kill the orc, and he does. Next we have Karzunil against Jonner, and Jonner will set the bar. He gets a 3, and Karzunil responds with a 5. But Jonner has the parry rule and can force the enemy to re-roll, and will do that. He gets a 6, so he wins either way. Karzunil will need 4s to wound, and he gets the 6, wounding Jonner. Fate roll for Jonner, getting a 5, saving himself. Next we have a Numenorian man against Krishla and his friend. Now the Numenorian man will be shielding and he gets a 6. Krishla is next, he is getting a 4 and his friend gets a 6 as well. And the fight value are equal, so on a 1 to 3 it goes to evil, and it does. Krishla will need 5s to kill and he gets the 5, slaying the Numenorian. Next we have an orc against a man and the man will set the bar. He gets a 4, the orc gets a 3. The man will need 4s to kill and he gets the 5, the orc is slain. Next we have Simonir against Joshok, and Simonir will be striking two-handedly, setting the bar at a 3, which is turned to a 2, and Joshok gets a 1. Remember, Louison has a strength of 4, which means he normally would wound on 4s, but 3s this time because of his hand-and-a-half sword, and he scores a wound on Joshok. Joshok has fates and he will try to save, and he saves. Alright, so the last alliance has taken the most amount of casualties, but this game is not over yet. Let's go into the priority for the next turn, and it goes to Cirith Ungol. Alright, so the orcs are carrying the relic towards their own table edge. It seems they are linking up with this archer, and Louison and or Simonir, sorry, and a friend are coming around the corner trying to stop them. But Murphys locked this archer into combat with a charge, and Joshok has these two tied up for now. Carsonil is facing Krishla, and we have one-on-one fights over here as well. Let's get into the fight phase. Starting with Murphys against this Numenorian, and Murphys is charging, so he can roll 3 dice, and he gets a 5. The Numenorian man responds with a 2. The man is knocked prone, and Murphys has doubled his attacks. 6 attacks against the Numenorian, and he will need 4s to kill him, and he gets 1 5 and 1 6, so the archer is slain. Next we have Joshok against Louison and a man, and Joshok will set the bar. He gets a 1 and Simonir gets a 6, which means they win the fight. Simonir will need, Louison will need 3s to wound Joshok, and he gets a wound, and Joshok has no fate left, so he loses a wound, but he is a 2-wound model, so the Numenorian man will try as well. He will need 4s to wound, and he gets a 1. Next we have the giant spider against the man of Numenor, and the giant spider sets the bar, getting a 5. The man of Numenor gets a 1. Needing 4s to kill the man, and he gets the 4. The man is slain. Next we have Jonner against a man, and Jonner will set the bar. He gets a 4 and the man gets a 4 as well. Jonner has a fight of 5, which means that he wins the fight and can make strikes. Needing 5s to wound the man, getting a 1. Lastly we have Krishla against Carsonil, and Krishla will set the bar. He gets a 3, Carsonil responds with a 5. Carsonil will try to wound, and he will need 4s to wound, and he gets the 5. Fate roll for Krishla, and he gets a 5, saving himself. Alright, so the last alliance is outnumbered, but they can still use heroic moves to try to make this into their advantage. But first, let's see who gets priority, and it goes to the last alliance this turn. Alright, so the last alliance got priority, but Joshok is using a point of might, calling a heroic move. This is then countered by Carsonil. So we have a roll-off on a 1 to 3, it goes to evil. Let's see what it is, and it does. So, because of that, Joshok moved into combat with these two, and Murphys got the charge into Simonir and his friend. And Krishla went into combat with Carsonil, trying to stop him from moving as well, but the other ones were not in range. The ones that carrying the object chose not to move, to either move in their own movement phase. So, on to the last alliance movement phase, it's only one model not in combat. Now, he stood over here and he made his move up onto the steps into combat with this one over here. So let's see what the orcs do in response. They sent Jonner into combat with this man, but the orc is halted. Now, this orc can take the heavy object and move half distance this way. Okay, so let's get into the fight phase now. Starting with Murphys against Simonir and his friend. Murphys will set the bar with his 3 attacks, getting a 6. That is really strong. Now we have Simonid. He has only 1 attack. Can he do something? No, and his friend gets a 5. Alright, Smurfus is literally a beast in close combat. Now he will do his strikes, starting with the elf who is not named, needing a 4 to wound, and he gets a 3. That is not good enough, but he will use his might points, turning that into a 4, slaying the archer. The last 4 attacks will go into Simonid, needing 4s, and he gets nothing. That is actually an amazing roll. Let's play Yahtzee, guys. Joshak will continue his struggle against Louison and his friend. Now Joshak will set the bar. He gets a 2, and Louison fighting two-handedly, getting a 1, and his friend gets a 2. But Louison can reroll this because of Blade Master, and he does, getting a 4, winning the fights. Louison will need 3s, and he gets a 1. Terrible. And the man will need 4s, getting a 6, causing a wound to Joshak. Joshak has taken a wound and is out of fate, so he is slain. Next we have Karsanil against Krishla and the Giant Spider. The Giant Spider will set the bar, getting a 6, and Krishla is next. He gets a 1, and Karsanil needs a 6 here. Nope. Krishla will go first, needing a 5 to wound, and he does not wound. The Spider is next, needing 4s, and gets 1-5. Fate roll for Karsanil, and he fails, but he can use a might point, I believe. No, he's out of might, so he is slain. Next we have this Numenorian against Jonner and a friend, and the Numenorian sets the bar, getting a 3. Jonner gets a 1, and his friend gets a 6. Jonner will start, needing 5s, and he misses, and his friend needing 5s as well, and nothing. Now, that was the last fight, so we go to priority for the next turn, and it goes to Cirith Ungol. Alright, so Cirith Ungol went back onto the Dwarven steps, making a wedge or a kind of defensive position to allow their warriors to retreat with the relic. As the last lines are only 4 models remaining, and they choose to retreat from this battle, seeing no points of fighting onward because they cannot achieve a victory, or it's very not likely. So they will flee, and Cirith Ungol will be the winner of this match. Moving into the next battle, we have Osgiliath against Karna. Now, Osgiliath has a lot more points than Karna, so they will receive 6 extra warriors to account for that. So let's see if that battle will be an even match. Let's go into priority for the first turn. Remember, deployment is done by moving onto the board. So, priority for the first turn goes to Osgiliath. Alright, so moving into the first turn of the game, Osgiliath moved onto the board as you might expect, putting their archers up on the hill to gain an advantage in height. Their newly acquired knight went onto this side of the battlefield to try to reveal the objective markers to be the relic. Remember, he cannot carry the objective or the relic while mounted, but he can still figure out which is which. Karna have 6 archers on top of this hill, and the rest of the warriors in the middle ready to pounce forward and reveal objective markers. So let's get into priority for the next turn. Priority goes to Osgiliath. Alright, so both sides have done their movements. The Osgiliath knight moved forward, but kept in mind the range of the bows opposite him. So he is outside of range, and the archers moved full to gain a better advantage next turn. The main force of the Osgiliath warband moved full distance, and their rangers moved in closer over to this objective over here. The rest of Karna moved forward in force, making sure to stick together to not be outnumbered in the fight phases to come. Now let's get into the priority for the next turn, and it goes to Osgiliath once again. Alright, so that is movement done, and let's see if this objective is in fact the relic. On a roll of a 6, it is, and it is the relic. Incredible. Okay, so this will do something about the fights, I believe. Let's see what happens in the next turn. Wait, we have to roll shoot phase, and starting with the Osgiliath. Starting with Melarsian, he will fire on the spearmans in front. He has double shoot because of his new upgrade, so he gets to shoot 2 shots, and with no penalty, even though he moved full, he scores 2 hits. Now he will need 5s to kill, and he gets nothing. He will use 1 might point though, turning this one into a 5, slaying one of the spearmen. Next to him we have Virlin, the new appointed hero. He will also fire at the spearman, needing a 4-up to hit because he moved and he misses. Next we have a regular ranger, same targets, needing a 4-up, and he hits. Now he will need 5s and nothing. The last ranger, Demantir, will try to hit and he hits. Now he needs 5s and he gets 1 5. 1 spearman is slain. Next we have shooting from Karna, and we have 4 regular warriors firing into the knight over there. They need a 4-up to hit because they stood still, and they gain 1 hit. Horse or rider, it hits the rider. Needing 6s to kill, and nope. Next we have Jacobim at the same targets, and he hits. Now he will see if he hits the horse or the rider. He hits the horse this time, needing a 5 to kill, and poisoned arrows. Can he do it? No! Jackson L is next, and hitting the same target, he misses. Alright, so we're into priority once again, and this time it goes to Osgiliath. Alright, so the main force of Osgiliath moved over to this side, trying to get into the relic to support their knight, who has dismounted and the knight is gone. This is because if he did not do that, he will not be able to carry the object. So he has dismounted to carry it. Their rangers moved in closer as well, and now it's on to movement for Karna. Alright, so I may have misread the rules a little bit. The relic has to be moved off on the opposing enemy movement or deployment zone. So they have to get this relic off this board edge over here, and that can be tricky. Now, the Karna warband moved in closer to try to stop the main force of Osgiliath, and the archers stood still trying to take out the knight who has dismounted. Now on to the shooting phase. No shooting for Osgiliath as they moved full, and Melarsian has no valid target, so shooting for Karna is next. Starting with 4 archers into the dismounted knight, needing a 4-up to hit, getting 2 hits. Now they will need 6s to kill him. Can they do it? No. Jacobim is next, needing a 4-up, and he misses. Now we have Jackson L needing a 3-up, and he hits. Needing 6s to kill, and gets a 5, turning that into a 6 with a point of might, slaying the knight. Alright, so it seems like right now the advantage is to Karna, because the relic is close to them and they are more models than the enemy, but the other rangers are closing in behind. Who gets priority this round? It goes to Osgiliath once again. Alright, so both forces are legging towards the relic, as it is the name of the game after all. It will be really interesting to see who gets priority next turn for the movement phase. The rangers continued to try to catch up with their friends, and the archers of Karna stood still. So on to shooting phase for Karna. As they have the advantage of height, they can fire over their own models, no in the way rolls needed, into Osgiliath. Now 4 attacks will start to fire, needing 4-up to hit, getting 3 hits. Needing 6s by force to wound because of the shield wall, and they get 1 6. Can they get a 4 as well? And they do, slaying one of the warriors. Jacobim is next, and he will fire into the veteran on the right hand side because he has a lower defense. Now they need 4-up to hit and they miss, and Jackson L will do the same, getting a 4, scoring a hit. Now he will need 6s to kill him, and no. Priority for the next turn goes to Karna for the first time this game. Alright, so Karna went down from the hill trying to enforce their will upon the relic with these 2. They went into contact with it being 2, they can move normally next turn, but Tylero saw that coming and went over to try to stop them along with 2 other veterans, keeping their shield wall in the middle, or their shields in the middle, to be able to fend them off, to wait for the reinforcements of the rangers coming from behind. Now, the Malarsian has moved full but can't shoot this turn, and we will shoot at the closest one in spear support over here. Now he will need a 3 up to hit because he has no penalties, and he hits, oh, he has 2 shots as well, and the other one miss. Okay, so he has a strength of 2, he will need 5s to kill, and he gets the 5. But this is a hero, Chiyu Hin, and he can try to save himself, and he will. Going into the fight phase, this veteran over here are fighting Chiyu Hin and 2, oops, he fell over. Okay, so 2 warriors of Karna against this veteran, and the veteran will be shielding, setting the bar at a 4, and Chiyu Hin gets a 6, which means they win the fight. Now they can make strikes and they need 6s. Chiyu Hin will start, he gets a 2 and his friend gets a 3. Jeremiah is fighting Doritor and Michael over here, and he has spear support. So Jeremiah will set the bar, he gets a 6 and his spear support gets a 1. Now, Michael, how many attacks do you have? You have 1, and Doritor as well. So Doritor will start, he gets a 2 and Michael gets a 6. But that is not enough because Jeremiah has a fight of 4, so they win the fight. Trying to take out the leader of Osgiliath, Jeremiah strikes at Michael needing 6s to wound, and he gets 1 6 and 1 5. And Jeremiah will use 1 point of might, turning that into a 6, causing 2 wounds, and Michael cannot save against that, so he is slain. Next we have a Watcher of Karna with spear support against a regular warrior who will be shielding. Let's start with the evil side, they get a 5 and the good side gets a 6. Next we have Stuart Lim against a warrior with spear who will be shielding, and Stuart Lim will set the bar, he gets a 6, and there's nothing that the warrior of Minas Tirith can do about that, so he loses the fight. Stuart Lim will need 6s to kill, and he gets 2 5s and 1 4. Using his might points, turning that into a 6, slaying the warrior. Priority for the next turn goes to Osgiliath. Going into the shoot phase, Malarsian would be firing first, except for Jacksonell, who has a free heroic shoot every turn, and he will use that, calling what is called volley, I think, which means that all of his friends can fire as well, and all of them will fire at Malarsian. Starting with the 4 regular warriors, they need a 4 up to hit and they score 2 hit. Now they will need 5s to wound Malarsian and they get 1 5. Fate roll for Malarsian and he fails. And that leaves him with 1 wound remaining. Now we have Jacob Beam who will fire next. He needs a 4 up and he misses. And we have Jacksonell, he gets a 3, which means he hits. Needing 5s to wound, and he gets a 3. Malarsian will fire back at the archers of Karna, needing a 3 up to hit, and he hits with 1 shot. Now he will need 5s to kill, and he gets a 2. Moving into the fight phase, we will start with Tylero the hero, and he will fight against a warrior of Karna, and Tylero gets a 1. Oh no, and the warrior of Karna gets a 3. Needing 6s to wound Tylero and gets the 6! Fate roll! No, but he used 1 point of might, turning that into a 4, saving himself. Next we have a veteran against Shlurim, and Shlurim will set the bar, he gets a 6 and the veteran gets a 1. Shlurim will need 6s, I believe, yes, this is the one with shield, and no. Next we have a veteran against a warrior, and the warrior gets a 1 and the veteran gets a 3. Needing 5s to kill, getting a 4. Next we have Stuart Lim against the warrior, and Stuart Lim will set the bar, getting a 6, and the warrior of Minas Tirith gets a 4. Stuart Lim will need 6s to kill, and he gets 2 6s, slaying the warrior. Next we have Doritor against a watcher with support, and Doritor will be shielding. Now the evil side gets a 6, and that means that they win on fight value. Needing 6s to kill Doritor, getting a 5. Jeremiah and spear support against a veteran, and the veteran will be shielding. He gets a 2 and Jeremiah gets a 4, which means they win the fight. Needing 6s to kill, Jeremiah will go first. He gets a 4 and his friend gets a 2. Next, we have a ranger against a warrior of Karna, and the warrior of Karna gets a 4, the ranger gets a 1. Needing 5s to kill the ranger and gets the 5, slaying him. Lastly, we have Diamantir against the warrior, and the warrior gets a 1, Diamantir gets a 3. Needing 5s to kill and gets a 4. Alright, so Karna has taken the lead, but will it remain? Let's see who gets priority. It goes to Karna this time. Alright, so Karna went into combat with all of the enemy models, and their archers are moving up, trying to support them. The ones with the relic got away from the pack, trying to get off this table edge in behind over here. So no shooting this turn, straight into combat. Starting with Malarsian against a warrior, and Malarsian sets the bar, getting a 6, winning the fight. Malarsian will need 5s to kill the warrior of Karna, and he gets a 4. Next we have Jeremiah against a ranger, it is a hero, it's Virlin. Virlin against Jeremiah, and Virlin sets the bar, getting a 3, Jeremiah gets a 5. Needing 5s to kill, and nope. Next we have Chiuhin against Diamantir, and Chiuhin sets the bar, getting a 2, Diamantir gets a 1. Chiuhin will need 5s to kill, and he gets the 5, and Diamantir has fate. Can he save himself? Yes, he does. Next we have a veteran against a warrior of Karna, and the evil side gets a 5, and the veteran gets a 6. Needing 5s to kill, and he gets it. The warrior is slain. Next we have Doritor against a Watcher, and the Watcher sets the bar, getting a 5. Doritor responds with a 2. The Watcher will need 6s to kill, and he gets a 5. Next we have Stuart Lim against a Veteran, and Stuart Lim will start, and he gets a 6, winning the fight. No, it may be equal, I believe. Yes, it can be. He gets a 3. Needing 6s to kill, and he gets a 5. Next we have a veteran against a warrior of Karna, and the veteran will get a 2, and the warrior will get a 3. Needing 6s to kill, nope. Next we have Tylero against a warrior, and the warrior will set the bar, getting a 5. Tylero responds with a 3. Needing 6s to wound Tylero, and nope. Priority for the next turn, this one is important, and goes to Osgiliath. Alright, so the fight is on once again. All of the archers got closer, but not in combat just yet. Tylero moved first and went into combat with the one holding the relic, and the other one got engaged as well. Malarsian tried to get away, getting closer to the relic, but got caught up with the enemy hero. Now only Diamantir was unengaged this turn, and he remains so, as he will try to close the distance towards the relic. Now into the fight phase. Starting with Tylero against a warrior of Karna, and Tylero sets the bar, getting a 2, and the warrior gets a 4. Needing 6s to wound Tylero, getting a 1. Next we have Shlurum against a veteran, and Shlurum sets the bar, getting a 3, the veteran gets a 3 as well. And that means that the fight is a tie, who will get it, and it goes to evil. Needing 6s to kill, and nope. Another veteran against a warrior of Karna, and the warrior gets a 2, and the veteran gets a 3. Forgot he had spear support, so one more die for the evil side, getting a 4. Needing 6s to kill, and gets the 6, the veteran is slain. Next we have Stuart Lim against Doritor, and Stuart Lim sets the bar, he gets 5. Doritor would be shielding in this instance and getting a 5 as well, but not enough because of Stuart Lim's fight value. Stuart Lim needs 6s to kill, and he gets a 5. Next we have a Watcher against a veteran, and the veteran sets the bar, getting a 6, strong start, and the Watcher gets a 3. Needing 4s to kill the Watcher, and gets a 1, terrible! Next we have Malarsian against a warrior of Karna, and Malarsian with his 2 attacks sets the bar, getting a 4, and the warrior gets a 2. 5s to kill, and getting the 4. Not good enough, but does he have might? He does not, unfortunately, and cannot do anything about that roll. Next we have Virlin against Jeremiah and a friend, and Virlin sets the bar, getting a 2, Jeremiah getting a 3. Needing 5s to kill Virlin, and getting the 6, his friend gets a 2. So Virlin will have to try to save himself if he has fates. And he does. Can he save? No, he's killed. Now, this is not looking good for Osgiliath, and they will have to start taking courage checks if they get priority this turn. And they do, so they have to take courage checks before they can move. Starting with Tylero, as he has one friend that he can help if he makes his courage check. He gets a 6. And by using 1 will point, getting this up to a 7, he has passed the check, and this warrior will also be standing. And next we have Doritor, who can help this one over here, and he gets a 5, and that is not good enough, and he cannot do anything with fate, and he doesn't have might, so he flees the battlefield. Next we have Malarsian over here. Will he be able to move? Oh no! He gets a 3, and that means that he flees as well. The last warrior, or the last hero, Diamantir, will try to stand, and he does. Actually, he does not, because he has only courage of 3 and no will, so he flees as well. And that means that this veteran also will have to test, and he passes. Now, there is no way that Osgiliath can come back from this. They have only 3 models remaining. Although Tylero is one of them and he is an epic hero, it's not good enough against the sheer numbers of the Karna warband. So I will rule that Karna wins this battle, and we will go into the post-battle. Alright, that was a nice couple of games. I really enjoyed it. Now, before we get into the injuries and promotions, let's go over the score for each warband. Starting with the Last Alliance, they have 13 points in total in this campaign, and this is episode 9, so there's only 3 battles remaining. Cirith Ungol has 15 points, and so does Osgiliath. And in the lead we have Karna with 16 points. Now, let's get into the post-battle with injury rolls. Karna had only 1 death from their regular warriors. The other 2 were stand-ins for this battle. Let's see how he fares. He gets a 7, and that is a full recovery. Next we have Osgiliath, starting with the warriors with the knight on the right hand side. He gets a 4, and that means that he has to miss the next game. On to the next warrior over here. He gets a 5, which means he also has to miss the next game. Next we have a veteran. He gets 10, so full recovery. And we have a ranger. He gets an 8, full recovery. And the last warrior gets 8, full recovery. Moving on to the hero, starting with Virlin on the right hand side. He gets 10, and that is an old battle wound. Next we have not Tylero, we have Hobtor. Hobtor is next, and he gets a 7, which is a full recovery. And lastly we have Michaelir. He gets 7, full recovery. Moving over to Cirith Ungol, starting with the warriors. On the right hand side we have a 2-hand weapon. He gets a full recovery. Next we have another Uruk-hai. He gets a full recovery. And a spearman. He gets a full recovery. Then we have a giant spider. He gets a 5, which means he has to miss the next battle. And lastly we have Joshuk, the hero, and he gets a 4, and that is an arm wound. Lastly, we have the Last Alliance, starting with the warriors from the right. The first one gets a 10, and that is a full recovery. The next one with Spear and Shield gets a 6, full recovery. And the next one, 8, full recovery. And then we have one warrior with shield, full recovery. Another warrior with shield, full recovery. And a warrior with bow gets a full recovery as well. Lastly, we have Carsonil, and he gets a 9, and that is just a scratch, so he can roll again, getting an 8, and that is a full recovery. Let's go into advancements for Karna, starting with these 2 warriors over here, who are regular soldiers. The one on the right, he became a hero, and that is cool. And the next one, a 5, which means he gets promoted and gets 1 better fight value. Now the next one is already a warrior of Karna and can be a watcher if he gets enough. No, not an upgrade for him. And the next one is also a warrior of Karna and becomes a hero. So we have 2 heroes now. Jeremiah continues on the path of the warrior and he gets a 6, and that is attack or wound. We will give him 1 more attack. Next we have reinforcements for Karna. They have 6 influence points and they will roll now. They are getting a 2, and that is a warrior with spear. Now it becomes a 3 and they can use 3 influence points to roll on the special charge, and they will do that. Let's see what they get on the special charge. It is a 2, which is turned to a 3, and that is a Watcher of Karna. So they get an additional Watcher of Karna, which is nice. Next we have advancements for Osgiliath, starting with the veteran with the spear, and he gets a 6 and becomes a hero. And we have the ranger as well, and he does nothing, gets nothing. And lastly we have Dimantir. He got enough experience and can choose a path, and he will choose the path of the ranger. Now he gets an 8, and that is pinpoint shots. The hero may reroll 2 wound rolls of 1 when making shooting attacks. As for reinforcements, Osgiliath has only 2 influence points and cannot roll on the reinforcement table, so we move over to Cirith Ungol. Alright, advancements for Cirith Ungol will start with Jonner on the path of the warrior, and he gets a 7, that is fight value, so he gets a +1 fight. And Murphus as well got to roll on the path of the beast once again. He gets a 9, and that is bestial charge. He already has that one. And he gets an 8, and that is strength or defense. His strength is pretty good. It's a 6, but so I think we will just give him defense to get a defense of 4. That will protect him a lot. Moving over to reinforcements for Cirith Ungol, they have 5 influence points and will roll on the table, getting a 6, and that is a giant spider. They now have 3 giant spiders in their warband. Alright, a lot of potential advancements for the last alliance. We have 4 warriors who can become a hero, and let's start from the right hand side. On a 6 they become a hero. No, not good enough. The archer getting a 5 as well, and one with spear and shield gets a 4, and the last warrior gets a 3. So no advancements for these warriors. Next we have Louison on the right over here, going on the path of the warrior. He gets a 12, and that is heroic presence. The hero may declare heroic combat each turn without expending might to do so. That is awesome. And lastly, Carsenil on the path of the general. He gets a 5, and that is rally to me, which means that his standfast increases to 12 inches from 9. Lastly, we have reinforcements for the last lines. They have 4 influence points. Let's see what they get. They get a 3, which is turned to a 4, and that is a Numenorian with bow. And by spending 1 more point of influence points, they get a high elf warrior. So that is what we will give them. Alright, that is it for now. I have to get to the painting table to paint up some new models and give some heroes some names. And thank you very much for watching this episode. The next one will be a special one. I hope I have some painting to do before that can happen, but I hope I will make it in time. Alright, thank you all for watching. Like, subscribe and share if you liked this content, and see you next week.